The college football experience, national championship preview and picks, and other college football news episode on the college football experience, or on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by the Hockey Gambling Podcast. Yes, they have a brand new YouTube page, folks. And the hockey guys are giving away a hoodie to celebrate their new channel on YouTube. Register today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP for the Hockey Gambling Podcast. So sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
Hey, this is Pac-Man Jones. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Preview and picks for the national championships. Yes, not just one. National championships, FCS and FBS happening this weekend. Cannot wait to break down those games. But first, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, and hopefully you watch this on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. But yes, you are listening to Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. I would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Oh, boy. We got a lot to talk about. We will recap a little bit, even though we kind of already did. We're going to recap a little more, dive a little deeper. But we got 2 national championships this weekend. We got coaching moves. We got portal. We got players going pro. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi-oh.
Let's go.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's go.
I mean, this is what it's all come
I like
down
that
to.
hat, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
YouTube.com/the college experience.
Sometimes you got to represent.
I got a little soundbite for you too before we introduce the next guy. All right, I see if I can find that. But first, we had it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that wasn't the one I was looking for. But where the hell are we at here?
Tell you what.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
We got.
Who am I lying to?
Look, we got the greatest.
Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Well, there you go. We got the end of the year, the culmination of I guess, Nick, we didn't really get you.
You
got to introduce him, but we need to get your reaction. We need to get your reaction.
Yeah. We are joined by third man in the booth, the DFS god himself. Hey, I won $10 doing DFS.
Oh,
here we
all
go.
right.
Talk to me. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving. Former Herndon Basketball League MVP, give it a Red Sea Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's up, guys?
Life is grand, baby. Oh yeah. Can we get Bosworth on here sometime?
Yeah, we gotta get him. On.
Let's get Bosworth.
Got the intro. You know, he might piss in your face, but I mean,
I want to make a music video with Bosworth to that song.
Yes. NC Nick, how you doing, buddy?
No, doing all right. I'd make fun of your $10 score in DFS, but that's $10 more than I made this past weekend. So, well done.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, buddy. Is 10 American that I didn't have before.
Plus, I think both of you guys went 2-0 ATS, and unfortunately, it was not a stellar weekend for yours truly. I went 0 for 2.
I mean, we talked about this. I got some nuggets that we could talk about. Obviously, we have the Rose Bowl and I actually do agree with Kirk Herbstreit. They should play the national championship here.
I'm surprised by that.
That's good.
Because your opinion has changed on that.
Well, I would rather, if it was up to me, I would move it around to their classic locations.
Yeah.
But they don't view what I view as classic. So instead of having it at all those filthy fucking stadiums that they do, like the shitty Superdome,
Manly domes,
or the shitty Jerry's
Georgia
World,
Dome.
yeah, all that bullshit. Just do it at the Rose Bowl every year, and also you won't have this thing of playing the game so damn late. Everyone was bitching on social media about it ending at 1:00. That's because they're waiting for the sun to drop at the fucking Rose Bowl. If you just have it as the championship game, we don't have that problem.
Well, let me tell you why that this is not possible.
Why?
Because one of the things
is the parade, right?
Well, that they're insistent upon is obviously January 1st. And so if it is January 1st, the schedule would either have to change for the regular season, which they're not going to do because Thanksgiving weekend, Michigan, Ohio State is sacrosanct.
Well, they shouldn't do that. I don't want to hit a week 0. How about you play during Christmas week and don't do a fucking month?
Right. Well, what I'm saying is last week of September is going to be the final week of the regular season. First Saturday of December is conference championships. Second Saturday of December could be the first round.
Yeah.
Second round would be the third Saturday of December, just before Christmas, and then but you need 4 rounds, and so I think you're going to be short by about a few days.
But if it was up to me, I would move it around. But I know they'll never put it in great stadiums. So that's why I say, fuck it. Put it on the Rose Bowl every year. Herbstreit's actually right there. If it was up to me, it'd be moving around to the Sun Bowl, the Liberty Bowl, Arrowhead. You know what I mean? You could fluctuate all around. You know what I mean? Because
they're not going to be able to do that. You could make it a semifinal every year. And right now it seems like because they're pushing into mid-January for the championship game.
The sport's becoming more and more corporate.
It's going to be a quarterfinal.
More of these bullshit.
I just can't
games.
believe the Rose Bowl is willing to be a quarterfinal every year, assuming they're sticklers about their January 1st time slot. And if they're not sticklers about the January 1st, then why not make them the national championship in mid-January? Then you could do it.
I haven't looked at the schedule for next year yet. Have they picked a date for the national championship? Is it roughly the same time frame as this year, or is it pushed back due to?
It's going to be pushed back a week.
Yeah,
because they're going to have the quarterfinals on December 1st, which means the semifinals are going to be like when the national championship is this year, a week later, obviously, and then 2 weeks into January, you're going to have the national championship.
Okay.
Next year, no, see, they're giving me this year. You fucking losers. Where's the next year?
Atlanta, I think they're playing.
See, Mercedes-Benz. That stadium sucks.
Awful.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. And GBO Farm says LA doesn't deserve that. Why? It's the true neutral site game. Hey, remember that time LSU?
Because no California teams are making it.
Yeah. Remember those times that LSU kept playing fucking home games in the national championship? Fucking terrible.
They played 4 home games in 16 years. They won 3 of them.
Ridiculous.
Look, who's arguing about a trip to Southern California? It's nice weather. It's at least it's outdoors.
Yeah.
You could pick worse destinations, GBO Farms.
Yeah. So NC Nick, let's talk a little bit about this game, because I really felt like Michigan should have won by more. I felt like Michigan should have won by 14, 17, something like that.
I'll say first off that I don't think it was a very well played game by either team. A lot of bad penalties, just like stupid mistakes. Bama couldn't even snap the ball on half the plays.
Bama couldn't even throw the ball.
They couldn't throw the ball either.
I think besides a first quarter completion, if I heard correctly, now I did not fact check this, but I heard another expert saying this. They didn't have a pass, I think past 14 yards besides the one play. They had one play all game past 14 yards passing. And that was in the first quarter.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you throw for only 116 and you're averaging 5 yards per pass, those are not good stats. Do both teams have good defenses? Yes, but in general, I just thought it was sloppy football. And obviously, Michigan was the better team, but they almost squandered it due to their own mistakes.
Yeah.
So it was a fun game to watch, but not well played by either team.
Alabama had a ton of punts. Their scoring drives were 44 yards.
That was after the fumble.
A 52-yard field goal drive. That was their most successful drive. They marched 52 yards for that. 55 yards touchdown drive. So they got a pretty short field for that one because a bad punt by Michigan. And then a 35-yard drive for a field goal, and that was it. Everything else was a punt.
Well, and how about this? They didn't get any sacks. It says 1 sack, but that was Alex Orji running out of bounds on his own will for a 3-yard loss on a trick play, kind of sort of. That was, I think, the thing that told.
I think he got sacked in the backfield too. Though was that the sack, or because he got tackled in the backfield on a quarterback draw? Would they count it as a sack?
That's
if he ran
rush.
out of bounds?
If it's a design rush, there was one where he went to pass.
Yeah,
it
I remember him running out of bounds.
and he ran out of bounds.
They
That's
call that
the
a sack. Okay,
that's the sack.
Well, that is the stat that stands out the most. Is the sacks is 6 for Michigan and 1. And that one, not even really a sack. So
yeah,
that stat maybe more so than any other stat, really.
Well,
I mean,
not
Bama
only that,
giving up
other
5
pressures.
the
other pressures too. Yeah,
Bama's O-line, it was not very good all season long. I thought they could maybe handle it a little bit better, but I don't know why. But maybe I was just giving them the benefit of the doubt because you expect Alabama to have a good O-line. But no, I mean, Michigan owned them up front.
Well, and that's my problem with, I know we touched on this. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to yesterday's shit, but I thought they were the most incomplete team in the Invitational this year. Alabama was. And that's why I thought Florida State deserved to be in over them. Sure. I thought they were extremely flawed. I know they beat Georgia, and I still think if they played Georgia 4 out of 5 times, Georgia would beat them. They needed everything to go right. They had a 4th down that I thought the ball hit the ground. They didn't fucking,
I mean, even this year's Georgia wasn't the Georgia of last year or the Georgia of 2 years ago. So beating them was still a very nice win.
I was about to say, Michigan's still thanking the Lord that Georgia, they weren't playing Georgia because I think that would be a much closer game as far as on the field. I know this was a close game.
Can't get any closer than that one.
Yeah, but I still just think like that would be
a much more difficult.
That's what a large playoff would do. It's like I was watching Texas, and I don't think Texas is that good. I just think Texas benefited from 7 backup quarterbacks and a down Big 12.
Right.
I think Oregon is better than Texas. I know we said this. I actually think I would lay like 7 points probably with Oregon against Texas.
Maybe that seems like a little bit.
Yeah, I would say probably 3 or 4. But yeah, if Oregon was in the championship, if we had a 12-team playoff this year, it would have been very interesting to see what the likes of an Oregon could have done,
or like a Missouri or a red hot Arizona. Like those would have been very compelling stories.
Yeah, a lot of people would argue that we're just gonna have the best team win it every year. Like Alabama's gonna, if you let them in the playoff, then the regular season doesn't matter, and they're in the play. We have no problem with the best team winning in the playoff. That's actually like what been our argument.
And especially when you see the schedule,
finding out who it is, who actually is the best team.
And when you see the schedule, the schedule advantages that they do every year, it's not fair from the start. And then take Arizona, for example. Since they've started Noah Fafita, they lost 1 game on the road in overtime. All right. By 2 points in a game that they probably should have won. If you watch that game, I think everyone would say Arizona outplayed USC. So with Fafita, and then I'll take it back to like in the year 2000, I think 1 or 2, when Colorado won the Big 12 and were left out of the national championship after beating Nebraska. And they put Nebraska in, and Colorado beat Nebraska by like 40 fucking points and ran for like 1,000 yards.
That Colorado team would be included. This year's Arizona team with 3 losses likely would not be included. And that kind of gets down to the heart of the matter. What are you looking for? Are you looking for the best team at the end of the year, which they claim they've been doing?
But my point on the Colorado thing is Colorado's losses that year were with a backup quarterback. See, our system right now, if you have a backup quarterback, if you have any type of injury for a game or two at a substantial position, you're forgiven. It can ruin your fucking season. It can ruin. Yeah, you're forgiven unless Alabama,
he's injured at the end of the year.
Yes.
Unless he's injured for the playoff. But if he's injured during the regular season, they'll forgive it a little bit. But I do think, I mean, that is a huge problem with the small playoff is that
Because right now,
one problem with your quarterback, one game he's missing. I mean, shit, Michael Vick in the year 2001, or 2000, 99. They go to the national championship. They're leading when at the beginning of the fourth quarter in that game against a great Florida State team. Michael comes back. Vick comes back for his second year. They go 11-1 again, and he's out for the Miami game. If he had played in that.
Yeah.
If he's in the playoff, then maybe they're the national champ. Maybe they're the best team in the country.
That's what I'm saying. So that, like, to me, Missouri and Arizona, remember Missouri had to go, what's Missouri's losses? They really should have beat LSU. They let them off the hook. You want to crown them, you crown them.
And Georgia, right?
Yeah. Well, that was at Georgia. So maybe on a neutral site, and that was a close game at Georgia. That
Last
was a close
2
game.
years.
Yeah.
Last 2 Missouri-Georgia games have been close.
So I think it would just make so much of a better playoff. Obviously, I did want to touch base on this and see what Patty C's thoughts were on this, and yours, NC Nick. So we've had 10 years of the college football playoff, the 4-team invitational. This year, Alabama was the highest, judging by composites on your roster. Alabama is the highest ever recorded for a playoff, right? They had 18 5-stars. They lost to Michigan. So they ranked all of these composites for 5 years here. Or they're based on their roster.
They went all the way back and did a composite. Cause I know like the composites only go back a couple years when you try and look on like 24/7 sports, but they did a composite for the entire college football playoff era.
Yeah. And this Alabama team is the highest ever recorded, 18 5-stars on their roster. Michigan had 2 5-stars.
Yeah. Wow.
2 5-stars, and they kind of dominated that line of scrimmage, which I think
they did.
Maybe that's the portal, maybe that's NIL. I don't know, and then the other game, Texas was number 6 in that composite, and Washington wasn't even in the top 25. They were number 26.
How many 5-stars on what?
Zero on Washington, and they never trailed. They never trailed in that Texas game. I'm just saying. I think. Do we think it's the portal, or was it always counterfeit like this? I don't know.
Well, Patty C, you're our recruiting correspondent. What do you think?
I think you're ridiculous if you think recruiting isn't a massive
I think
aspect of how good teams are. But
I also think it's playing less and less a role because one thing you look at with these teams, Washington and Michigan are old, and getting guys in the portal like that kid from UMass that's a 5th-year senior. And going out and getting guys that have been in college football a long time, more important than recruiting.
There are a lot of factors. Experience is certainly a huge one,
And recruiting isn't like a proven. I mean, just because you land 2 5-stars in any particular year doesn't mean those 5-stars are going to pan out.
Yeah,
especially in college football. College basketball is kind of I think they have it down better to evaluate and know who's going to be good. College football, not quite as much. I mean, there's a lot of 5-stars who just don't pan out. Now, yes, if you can build year in, year out and get 5-stars, a lot of them are going to hit too. Keep them. That's true.
Well, that's the thing to me. When I watched Alabama this year, I was like, I don't think they have a stud running back. I don't think they have stud wideouts.
For sure.
I don't think they have much studs on offense besides Milroe. Yeah. And you saw that, I thought, in the game is Michigan completely shut them down.
Yeah, even Milroe's a stud runner. Not a stud passer.
Yeah. But also he might help if he had better wideouts.
Yeah.
So I mean, but yeah, he still wasn't very accurate throughout the year.
This game not bad. 16 to 23, so 69%.
He was not throwing to the wideouts.
Yeah,
he was just
when you have 5 yards per attempt
here,
that's stinking and dunking. Yeah.
I don't know. I just find that to be. I think the portal is playing such a huge role. I almost think it's smarter to hit the portal than it is. I mean, yes, you want to still bring in players. Impact freshmen can be a great thing, but how many? I'd like to know the percentage of players that actually stay with the school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I bet you Bama's probably affected some of this because they don't have the backups that they thought they would have because they hit the portal.
Yeah,
but they still had 18 5-stars on their fucking roster.
Depth definitely gets crushed. I think you're right. Recruiting is going to mean less and less because of the portal, because of the NIL spreading the recruiting around. I mean, I guess recruiting still matters immensely. I mean, in a sense, like if you are able to get an elite recruiting class and everyone else is spread more thinly, then yeah, recruiting can play an even bigger factor. But right now, it looks like it's going to kind of wash out a little bit, and then other factors will look more important. Right now, for the last 15 years, it's like recruiting has been like the big factor, that there's a huge correspondence between your recruiting ranking and your likelihood to win games and win championships. But I think that's going to go away a little bit.
I would still think so. Of these 4 teams in the playoffs, I would think at least 75% of their starters aren't transfers. Think that number's probably somewhere around there. Like I know, like if you look at Washington, you Pennix and Dylan Johnson. I'm not sure.
Texas loaded up on transfers.
70 to 75%, I would think, would be recruited by that team.
Because Quinn Ewers, Ohio State. I feel like Texas's whole team is transfers over the past few years.
From Georgia.
It's what I'm saying.
There should be data out there.
They have the kid from Wyoming at the wideout spot. They have a shit ton of transfers. Their safety from Arkansas, like. They have a lot of transfers. Texas does.
Yeah, but I mean, still, high school recruiting is still very important because that's probably going to be the majority of your roster.
Yeah,
sure. But I mean, well, then 18 5-stars. Why are they getting their ass kicked by 2 5-stars?
Well, look, there's talent evaluation. Maybe Washington is better at grabbing 4 stars. Like take their receiving group. Who all are better than anybody Alabama has. So just because they're a higher recruit coming out of high school, we know those rankings are fishy. We know like as soon as one school starts recruiting somebody, boom, he goes from a 4-star to a 5-star for no apparent reason, just because Alabama's interested.
We saw this actually just recently. I mean, obviously the Cormani McLean thing at Colorado, but just recently, damn it, I was reading one in the past month. I don't know who it was. That happened again. The Cormani McLean thing happened again.
That happens a lot. Yeah. More than we probably even realize, because we're not watching it like a Hauck. I mean, that's how they kind of recruit rate these guys, is based on the offers that they get. And if those offers are rescinded, or if they that's the most ridiculous. If they commit to one school over another, they would
because it feeds the ecosystem, man. Fans get more excited if they have a top 10 recruiting class. So I almost feel like, I mean, I don't know. I've always
especially go another layer deep. If you go by like ESPN recruiting. Well, who do you think ESPN wants to have the top recruiting classes?
Yeah. Oh, there's major conflict of interest. Like when the recruiting service also has a contract with those conferences. I will say that it is kind of a not ridiculous, but it's a little bit of a silly statement to say, oh, Alabama, what happened in that one-off game when they had more talent? What happened in every other game of the season that got Alabama on the doorstep of the national championship when they played teams with less talent? They whooped their ass.
Well, they also shouldn't have been in the playoffs.
Well, that's true.
GBO Farms brings up a good example of Harrison Bailey, that Tennessee quarterback who
5-star.
He
was horrible at UNLV. Yeah,
he was horrible wherever he went. If you ever see him play football, he's like 5-star.
Yeah, the quarterbacks. I mean, look at the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even understand how to draft a good quarterback.
Yeah, it's a very inexact science.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk a little bit of that Texas-Washington game. NC Nick. I mean, I hate to pull a Ric Flair and brag here, but I honestly think both my handicaps were fucking spot on. Spot on.
Yeah.
I can read you a stat here. Let me pull this up, but I found this to be quite fascinating. Washington wide receivers Rome Dundee, Jalen Polk, and Jalen McMillan and Bernard were targeted 20 times last night, and they caught 19 catches for 353 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, how statistically
not too shabby.
They got everything they wanted essentially. Like Texas was that bad in the passing game.
I think you even said Washington doesn't drop passes.
Yeah,
20 targets, 19 catches.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn good.
Well, and I just knew Texas's pass defense. See, this is why I think when we quote and I know sometimes I'll quote offensive and defensive stats, but they can be bullshit.
Sure.
Washington's facing great quarterbacks every fucking game, right? In the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah.
And their passing defense is at like 110 or 108 or 112 or some shit like that, right? Texas was at 93, so people were arguing with me. I remember stating this. They're like, "Oh, Texas has a better pass defense than Washington." I'm like, "No, they don't, man. Like they played a bunch of shitty quarterbacks. First, they got 7 backups. Then, but even with that, the Big 12 struggled with quarterback play this year.
Sure.
So, like, what are we really seeing here? So all those numbers can be diluted.
Right. And you're right. I mean, when Texas was really turned it on in November, that was against pretty bad competition. So
Yeah.
Washington had by far the better resume. I mean, first they were undefeated, where Texas had lost one, but they played a much tougher gauntlet. And what I underestimated or undervalued was, and a great stat also, is that Texas had 0 sacks. So the pass protection really held up for Washington.
Not only the pass protection, they won the Joe Moore Award for best offensive line. Washington did, but Pennix is so fucking elusive in the pocket, and also, I mean, I hit on this. I knew DeBauer would run him more, and I think that's, especially if Dylan Johnson's injured in the Michigan game, I think that's going to be a blueprint. He had a couple pivotal third downs where he ran for a 10-yard first down, and he did that at Indiana. I would not be surprised if he does that in the national championship, especially with even more.
Well, I recall on our preview that I said, I'm not sure if I see that happening, because coming into the game, Pennix had negative yards rushing, but sure enough, he did run, 3 for 31, a couple huge,
two of those were
huge plays.
Gigantic third downs. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's what makes DeBoer the coach that he is. He keeps that bad boy in the pocket till he really needs it.
Boom. And how about, I think Quinn Ewers, didn't have a pass more than 10 yards until I think it was to a receiver. I'm sorry, because he had one to the running back. He didn't have a pass to his wideouts more than 10 yards, I think, until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, look at Xavier Worthy, and he caught 2 for 45. Mitchell caught 4 for 32. Those are not very good stats there. So I was right about, I thought Jatavian Sanders and Jordan Whittington would have some success over the middle of the field. They did. They both had good games.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, Washington played the defense. It's not like they have, the 75 Steelers or something, but it's a bend but don't break. They're going to give up.
No,
some
that
yardage,
game plan by DeBauer and the DC there.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fantastic game plan, because if you watch Texas all year, Texas was able to get those wideouts open as far as like deep balls, 60-yard touchdowns. Washington basically said, we're taking that away from you.
Yeah.
Beat us. We know you have the worst bottom 10 red zone offense. And I know this doesn't apply for the red zone, but they haven't been able to dink and dunk really all year. I think they don't feel comfortable doing that. That's not their game. They're a home run threat type of offense. I do think they should have committed more to the run, personally, because I thought that was their advantage.
Especially when CJ Baxter's averaging over 7 yards per rush and Jaden Blue over 6 yards per rush, and they only had 9 attempts each. Now, getting down early made them maybe force them to pass the ball more than they wanted. But I was on Texas because I thought the run game would have more success, and maybe they should have stuck with it a bit longer.
They looked like they were running pretty well with it, but yeah, when you're trying to catch up when you're in a desperate position, because Washington's offense,
they got everything they wanted offensively. I mean, I guess there was a couple times
Washington did.
Yeah,
Washington didn't get the running game going.
Yeah,
offensively.
I'm just saying. But look at those. You don't need the run game if all your receivers are getting the stats that I just gave you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
430 passing yards.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I find it fitting that Texas never even had the lead in this game. So, and a great nugget out there. Someone tweeted out that Texas A&M and Texas still have never, TCU is the only team in Texas to win a playoff game and actually have the lead.
That's right. And
playoff game.
One more thing on Washington. I mean, I think they have a massive chip on their shoulder now, continually being put as the underdog. It was the Oregon game where Washington had already beat them once, and they're getting 8 points or 9 points, something
10.
ridiculous.
It was 9.5 or 10.
Is that where it closed?
Yeah.
And then the fact that they're the undefeated team, and Texas has lost a game, and like I said earlier, Washington's played a tougher schedule, and again they're getting points. And next Monday night they're getting points again. So
and that was like an away game too. That was like 80-20 Texas crowd. You know,
is this a little East Coast bias? Is that why Washington's continually put as a dog?
I've always thought
maybe East Coast bias, but maybe it's like
blue chip bias.
Blue chip bias. Yeah, I mean, Texas clearly has a bigger fan base, a little more cachet traditionally.
I guess I should say blue blood bias, not blue blood. But
well, it might be blue chip. They're number 5. What did I just rattle off? They're number 5 or number 6 in the composites. Yeah. Maybe they're looking at that, but at Texas, they said that is the best defensive line, not one sack.
And that's why I think Washington's going to be able to be right in the game with Michigan. I think Michigan's D line, maybe it is the best in the country. It looked pretty damn good. But them and Texas were right there. So, if Washington can block Texas that well, maybe they can also limit the pass rush of Michigan.
Yeah, the only difference is Texas has a terrible pass defense. Michigan has the number 2 pass defense in the nation.
True.
But a lot of that
secondary,
a lot of that is because the Big Ten can't throw the ball.
I was about to say, let me bring up this point
neither could Milroe.
Yeah,
right.
But if you look at the top 15 pass defenses in college football, Ohio State 1, Michigan 2, Iowa 5th, Penn State 7th, Rutgers 10th, Northwestern 15th. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I don't even know if I believe those stats, because if you're playing shitty quarterback play left and right, that might be why you're puffed. Tennessee just beat Iowa 35-0.
Well, this is why college football is awesome, because, and I think even this happens in the pros too, because a lot of those teams are playing outdoor in the North still. When you play in cold weather, you have to adjust your game, especially for late in the year, to be able to run the ball and not rely as heavily on the pass. And so,
true, but Seattle can get cold.
But not as cold.
Well, that's why we said all year, like name me the best quarterback in the Big Ten. You're probably going to go McCarthy.
Yeah.
Other than that,
the best quarterback Michigan's played is probably Tolia.
Yeah. And they
actually played him pretty decently. I feel like
yeah. But Maryland played them pretty close.
That's my point.
Oh, Maryland played them pretty decently. Yeah. No, I think Michigan definitely has to be careful. Now, on the flip side, Washington, the number 123 pass defense, number 43 rush defense. I think Michigan's strength is their running game.
Well, no, I even think that's jaded. I think Washington's rush defense is really not that good. It's because they play a bunch of teams that have great quarterbacks that pass more.
And so the 123 pass.
So it jades, like you got to take those numbers.
Washington's numbers, defense. Yeah. They're just an average defense.
They were. I thought they played great last night, considering, like I said, their game plan. I think what they executed to a T of let's take away anything explosive from Texas's offense. They took that away, and they said, make us beat you through, dink and dunk. And they didn't feel comfortable doing that. They also forced a bunch of fumbles. And I thought they had a great play in the end zone, batting that ball down. They also had some sacks. They got after it. The defensive end, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he had a very good game.
They were more successful against Texas than I would have thought. Now again, maybe Texas should have leaned on the run a little more.
I thought they should have.
And that'll be interesting to see what Michigan does. Can Washington get out to a lead early and kind of force Michigan to pass more than they want to? Or are we going to see it, more neck and neck? Is Michigan really going to commit to the run? I think they should.
Yeah,
they should. But I mean, what is Washington probably will come up and try and stop the run. And then is McCarthy going to be able to exploit the secondary? I think he probably will. I think both offenses probably get off in this game. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than we saw from Michigan, Alabama.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably pretty closely resemble the, Texas, Washington game, except I think Michigan will be closer in that game. I think we're looking at what would you give me a score prediction on that game?
Well, we're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to that. First, I want to say the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Look, Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. They got NFL, NBA, NHL, college football, and college basketball. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in, people. So what are you doing? Watch along, make picks, and make some extra cash on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. I truly believe they have some of the best college props. I was higher than I took the higher on Pennix at 312 passing yards. That destroyed. I took the higher on Quinn Ewers at 288. Needed that last drive. Needed that Dylan Johnson injury for that to hit, but it hit. And that's the type of stuff you can get over on Underdog Fantasy all season long, not just for the national championship or the CFP. So what are you doing? All right, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Once again, that's Underdog Fantasy promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by the Hockey Gambling Podcast. Yes, we're giving away a hoodie. The Hockey Gambling Podcast, NHL fans, you got to check it out. The Hockey Gambling Podcast just launched their new YouTube channel, and they're giving away a Hockey Gambling Podcast hoodie to celebrate. SportsGamblingPodcast.com/HGP to enter. Once again, that's SportsGamblingPodcast.com/HGP. All right, we will get back to picking the both championship games, but we didn't have a chance to talk about the news that came out of left field about 10 days ago, maybe 12 days ago. Jerry Kill resigns from New Mexico State. What?
Odd.
He just took him to a 10-win season. Year 2.
His quarterback's coming back. I mean, everything's looking up.
Do we believe the story that it's health related?
Well, he's been able to use that health related thing a few times, but maybe because that's probably legit. But I don't know. It makes me something ain't smelling right to me.
Well, saying you want to kill the opposing team's your rival's athletic director, I think.
Well, his name's Jerry Kill.
Yeah, he's a
you know
killer.
who you hired.
Yeah,
right.
That might have had something to do with it, but they're not saying that specifically.
Well, no,
I don't know. I think he'd come out and say it if it did.
Well,
probably,
but something
he's not one to parse words. I don't think.
Yeah, apparently.
so they hire Tony Sanchez, right? The former UNLV head coach, who I believe played at New Mexico State, if memory serves me correct. The problem is the whole team hit the portal after that, including Diego Pissing Pavia, the legend, their star quarterback. To me, if you were keeping one of your guys, I would think they'd be able to keep everything intact. So why the hell does the whole team hit the portal?
Because there's only one Jerry Kill.
I think there's something there. Maybe he's classing it up and saying, okay.
Why would they get rid of him?
So I never get Jerry Kill, Bronco Mendenhall, which I dreamed about, the Rio Grande rivalry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what it is?
What's that?
He went to Roswell and he saw more than he was supposed to see.
The old Roswell anger. Yeah.
Hanger
Area 51.
Yeah.
Okay, something like that.
But now, so Sanchez was not successful at UNLV. I was surprised they didn't do more of a coaching search. This seemed like to be right away that they just named him the next head coach. I know like he has ties to the university, but I was a little surprised by that.
You know who didn't have ties to the university? I don't think was Jerry Kill, and look how good he did. So that the whole ties to the university that can be overrated.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It didn't seem like they had an
Jim
interviewing. Yeah, but it didn't even seem like they had an interviewing process.
Nick Saban.
Yeah.
For everyone you got,
True.
I got one too. Okay.
True.
Nick Saban, you could have coached at Kent State. You filth. You
You sold yourself.
Yeah. No, but that's why I think it seemed weird to me. They didn't even do an interviewing process, as far as I know, besides Sanchez. They just went straight to Sanchez. I don't know. I don't like it. And they're my boys with their sweet ass mascot.
Oh, you know what I like? I like coaches and players representing their state. Well, as much as I like an O'Brien at Boston College, I like a Sanchez at New Mexico State.
Anyway, something monitor. Also, the transfer portal. We had all this crazy news. Guys going pro. Dude, Cam Ward, Washington State starting quarterback, who was rumored to be Ohio State and Miami's next starting quarterback. He said, fuck you to them, and he's going to the NFL. This makes me think of something. We also saw Liberty quarterback Caden Salter, Jaden Mavea, I forget how to pronounce that, the UNLV starting quarterback, hit the portal. But I was thinking about this. And I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday watching the game. Who the hell is Ohio State? Because Kyle Honda McCord is now at Syracuse.
Right.
We saw how bad their quarterback play was in the Missouri game. Miami has lost their backup quarterbacks or their starting quarterback / what the hell's going on here? And what are these teams going to do? Like, there's not many QBs. I feel like that are DJU just committed to Florida State. That was a huge get. Because there's not much more. I mean, Matthew Saluka, we all know he's a fucking beast.
I mean, there's some players that we like, but it's like, are they really going to be the quarterback of Ohio State next year? Like, is Salter or Pavia going to be the quarterback for the Buckeyes? I find that hard to believe a little bit, but eventually they might take a chance on somebody like that and at least bring him in.
Well, I'm just a bit baffled that, like, I just don't know. I mean, I know what JMU's McLeod is still in the portal. Do you think he could play at Ohio State, Patty C? Or Miami?
Sure, I think so. I mean, look, I'm just going to say this. mobile quarterbacks you can plug and play with a little more easily, just because you can use their athleticism, even if it takes them a little while to learn a system. But it takes a little more to develop a passer. How has Ohio State done developing passers? With an entire offseason here? Devin Brown didn't look like he's much of a passer at all. You know? And
love that he wears the Sammy Ball jersey number.
I love that too. But yeah, for Ohio State to have a completely empty cupboard on quarterbacks and not have any mobility, because they've done the mobility thing before, like Braxton Miller. They're like, all right, this guy's not really a quarterback, but we'll just get him out on the edges and throw short passes with him and make this thing work. With the rest of the talent we have around him, you can't really do that with lawn chairs, which is kind of what they have right now.
So the only quarterbacks that I see remaining out there, and I'm seeing Will Howard's still out there, but I hear that he's rumored to already have made a deal with USC. But you have Malachi Nelson, the former big time recruit at USC, who we've not really ever seen play. Caden Salter from Liberty. Then it's a bit Mavia, I don't know how that's pronounced, from UNLV, and Jordan McLeod. So you have you don't have a lot of starting quarterback experience from previous years out there right now. KJ Jefferson just went to UCF. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like Ohio State I think maybe their best plan would have been keep Honda McCord, because do you really feel great about if Ohio State goes into the season next year, starting, Mavia or one of these other guys?
How do you spell that name?
I don't know how. I don't know. MAI.
We know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think people come.
MAIAVA.
People don't come to us for pronunciation.
Mavea.
It's close to Rocky Maivia, which is The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson was his original character in the WWE. I don't think they're getting any of that bloodline. We would know if he was going to Ohio State.
No, my point though is that
hey, even Duke got Malik Murphy, which was
that's what I'm saying.
I thought was a very good get. So
especially you got him at a time where I think in hindsight, some of these other schools like Miami or Ohio State that thought they were going to get Cam Ward.
Yeah,
I think now they might be going, oh shit. Like
they're scrambling, right?
Sure, they could interfere because there's no NCAA police. They could probably DM somebody and say transfer right now. We'll give you $1 million or something like that, and they could probably pry a name out there. But I'm saying as of right now today,
it's looking bleak.
Yeah,
which means Ryan Day is sitting firmly on the hot seat coming into this year.
Yeah,
because beyond even like performance, Ohio State expects to be projecting themselves as a place that you can get drafted highly as a whatever position you come in as. And if you have empty cupboards, it's a little odd though, is that it must be really hard for certain coaches to attract and develop great quarterback play, because Nick Saban for a long time he hit a hot streak there with Mac Jones and Tua and Jalen Hurts, but prior to that they were empty cupboard at quarterback most of the time, and since then it's kind of looked a little bad. Ryan Day has had good quarterback play up until now, but now it's like, dude, you have like an entirely empty cupboard.
Yeah.
They need to get someone in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just find that crazy that Ohio State is. I mean, like I said, maybe the joke's on me, and they'll be able to go out and land someone that's really good that's not in the portal right now. Maybe they call up somebody and boom, they bring him in. But I don't know. There's not that many good quarterbacks.
I'm trying to think quickly of like who that could be.
Yeah.
Are they going to lure Quinn Ewers back?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they go and get Arch.
I can't.
Like, you're going to take our guy. We're going to take yours.
Arch Manning at Ohio State. Geez, I think I think Twitter would explode.
Yeah. I don't know,
but that's kind of like an indication of like how all of this movement. I mean, they had what seemed like a pretty stocked room, and if you have that many quality quarterbacks competing against each other, one of them probably will emerge as a stud. But Ewers leaving and McCord leaving, it's like all of a sudden, whoa.
Well, I think they pushed McCord out the door.
Yeah, because they thought they're going to get Cam Ward or somebody else.
Yeah. Oops.
Fascinating to watch over, and just because the season's ending in a week, don't think we're not covering all that shit. We never stop talking college football here on the College Football Experience. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that's pretty much all the news there. Let's talk about the games, because on Sunday, why the fuck do they schedule this for Sunday?
I have no
we have
idea.
the FCS National Championship. You know what would be a
Kid
great lead up?
morons.
You know what would be a great lead up to the National Championship on Monday? Or a Saturday night primetime spot? The FCS National Championship, which I think is an awesome game this year. I think South Dakota State, Montana is an awesome game. This is they've played a lot, historically in college football, and it's a great two blue bloods.
Yeah,
in my
this is
opinion.
essentially two blue bloods of the FCS.
And we're fucking this up by putting it in the middle of a Sunday afternoon with playoff implications in the NFL.
yeah, and rivalries being played all over the place.
Yeah, and
You have Friday night. I mean,
Monday. How
anything,
about before the national championship? How about we go double header right into that?
Screw
Sunday at
Monday.
2.
Put them both on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't even like the Monday thing either with
Me
the
neither.
national championship.
You should be able to
Yeah.
party the night of the national championship.
Yeah, I
Put
agree.
it on Monday and then have the rest of the day leading up to the national.
Give us.
It shouldn't be
no,
back to
Saturday.
back
You said
or
put 'em on
Saturday. Yeah, put them on Saturday.
And
have
that's
the
you
rest-
guys, where the game's going to come on at like 6:00. For me, the game comes on at like 9:00. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So look, it's Saturday at noon Pacific.
Sunday.
So
at
three.
noon.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm saying they should do
Oh yeah.
Saturday at noon Pacific.
for the FCS.
FCS
And then like
lead
a
that
5:30.
lead that in same channel so the people get fucking educated about the FCS and they catch these great fucking brands and they realize, hey, this football is amazing.
And then what? Like a 2-hour gap to prep up for the
2 hour my
1 hour.
ass.
1
yeah,
hour gap
Yeah, there we
to
go.
prep up
Yeah.
for the FBS national championship. I
I
like
mean,
it.
it's not that fucking hard. It's really not that hard. What are you doing, folks? All right. Frisco, Texas. And
That
I-
would be awesome. That'd be
Yes.
fucking awesome.
if they
you'd have
lead up to
A
it,
great day of college football.
yes.
Yeah.
They're so unorganized. The sport is so fucking unorganized. Montana, South Dakota State. The spread is 12.5 points. South Dakota State won the national championship a year ago.
And brought pretty much everybody back, other than their head coach.
Yes. But their OC became their head coach.
True.
But I think it's a fascinating game because if you look back at what the Jackrabbits have done, first off, they've kind of kicked everyone's ass except Montana State at the Dyke House week 2, right? Montana State, me and Patty C were watching this game. Montana State we thought they completed a game-winning touchdown. On review, he bobbled the ball and stepped out of bounds. So they were able to prevail. South Dakota State was. But besides that, they have pretty much dealt death blows to a lot of teams. I guess the Salukis of Southern Illinois kept it within one score.
Villanova.
And
kept it.
Villanova
Yeah.
in the crazy wins.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why. If that game was played in good conditions, I don't think Villanova is that close.
Well, I can tell you this.
Still, of which teams that they've played have been anywhere near Montana's quality?
North
North
Dakota State.
Montana State. Montana State.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Montana. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That was a close game.
4-point game.
Yeah.
Well, they beat North Dakota State 33-16.
True.
That's true.
True.
That's
but,
a good one.
But,
That's
but
a damn
clearly
good one.
Montana's better than North Dakota State because we saw it.
And
What was the
two
final score of that one?
overtimes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
That was
I
the
mean,
best.
I think they're kind of right there. I don't know if they're that much better. At
South
home
Dakota
to win
State.
in double overtime.
No,
Yeah.
but I think North Dakota State turned a corner later in the year. I think
Yeah,
had
they
they
got really
played
good at
South
the end.
Dakota State, because in the middle of the season, North Dakota State was really struggling.
Yeah.
I think they turned a corner late in the year. But South Dakota State, obviously, Mark Gronowski. This is a guy who's 28 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the season. We've watched him for a long time. It feels like now, Nick. But at the same time,
He was I think he was a true freshman when we first saw him in 2020, right?
yeah. And I hear he's going to be back. Well, I mean, I guess theoretically he could be Ohio State's next quarterback because he's he could hit the portal after this, but he's going to be back next year. If not, Isaiah Davis is a running back that the NFL loves.
Yeah,
Apparently,
he's awesome.
Rushed for almost 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns. And they got the brothers, Jaden and Jackson Janke, at the wide receiver
of
spot.
J's.
Yeah. And then they have the number 1 ranked defense in all of the FCS. It's going to be hard, but let's talk about the other team here. The Montana Grizzlies, I think, have had a magical season. When you really So early in the year, here we covered it on the FCS. Me and Gulf Coast Guru subscribe to the FCS College Football Experience, folks, where we focus on FCS college football year round there. But out the gate, the Butler Bulldogs gave Montana all they could handle in Missoula week 1. Week 2, which was shocking to me because Butler, doesn't really put football first. Week 2, Montana went down to Zion Stadium there in St. George, Utah, and beat the piss out of a Utah Tech team. Okay. But then they almost lost to Ferris State. Me and Patty C. Ferris State is a D2 school. Ferris State
had good D2 school.
Had a chance to win that game, or at least tie that game, to send it to overtime. They fell short.
I wouldn't give them too much flack for that, just because, like we've seen with FCS and FBS, the best FCS schools are often a challenge for even some of the best FBS schools.
Well, I can tell you this. My point that I'm trying to make is the first 5 weeks of the season. So Butler, Utah Tech, Ferris State. Then the week 4, they lose in the walk-up Sky Dome, that filthy place in Flagstaff, right? And NAU wasn't great. And then Idaho State, who wasn't great. Cody Hawkins, their head coach. They barely escaped. Those 5 weeks, I was convinced, if you listen to us back, I was like, man, Montana's counterfeit. They made a quarterback change though. They originally starting the former Oregon State quarterback, Sam Vidlac. They switched to Clifton McDowell. All right. They got the Big Mac. We got the Big Mick. All right. This guy is a dual threat quarterback. And to me, that was the team got behind this. They were calling for Bobby Hauck, who had, this is his second stint at Montana. He won an FCS National Championship.
The disrespect.
Yeah. And they figured things out, man. And the defense started playing better. This is a guy that
for one loss, they're calling for his head.
No, they were saying that since they rehired him, Montana's had struggles. Well, then they went off on this miraculous run here. And they've been red hot ever since. And it's been a fascinating story to watch. They've between McDowell that does the, kind of a dual threat. He's got games where he rushes over 100 yards. And then their special teams and their defense have been fantastic. So it has been a very fun story to watch in Missoula. Because I'll be honest, I thought this team was kind of fool's gold early in the year, but ever since they made that change, they have just been rattling off win after win. And it's been they went to the Kibbe Dome, they won. They took down Sac State when they thought
Bobby Hauck never won a championship with them, did he?
I think he did. He won one.
I think he went. I think he lost to JMU.
Are you sure?
Just had to crowbar that in. Joe Glenn was their last championship. 2001.
He went. Okay, he's coached to 3 FCS championships, but he's not won one.
He hasn't won one yet.
I sense a pattern here.
Oh!
Not able to win the big one.
Yep. 3 number 2 finishes so far.
This is the Buffalo Bills. I thought he got one. Anyway, I think it's too many fucking points though. I'll tell you that, because I do think Montana's better than Montana State. I also think giving Bobby Hauck a couple weeks to prep. I think that the dual threat of Clifton McDowell can give South Dakota State enough problems. I think if you look South Dakota State just destroyed Reese Poffenberger. But I also think that's a one-dimensional offense. They're kind of a finesse passing offense. Montana, by having McDowell and having that option, their run pass it, even having Vidlac, who still gets in on some of these games, I think they're a harder team to prep for. I will take the points with my Grizz. I know NC Nick in the Brawl of the Wild, he took Montana State. He foolishly took Montana State, thinking they were going to take down the Grizz. I'm all over the points.
I still have a bitter taste in my mouth from that game, which is why I'm going to disagree with you here. I worry about Clifton McDowell's ability to pass the ball, because in the 3 playoff games, he hasn't been over 55% completion percentage yet. And he has 4 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's thrown picks in 2 of the 3 games. I think what San Diego State and their number 1 defense, I think they're going to stop the running game and force Montana to try to beat him in the air. And I don't think that's going to happen. I'm all over the Jackrabbits. I'm riding with Arbo in the chat. I'm going to lay the big number and talk it up again, man. Back-to-back champs. They're the best team by a mile.
They could win, but they're not going to cover.
12.5 is the number.
12.5.
Look, Clifton McDowell. I do love the name. We should all be rooting for McDowell's. Again, the Golden Arcs. What is it?
Yeah.
The Golden Arcs.
They got the Big Mac. We got the Big Mac.
That's right.
Hey, they got the small fry sesame seed bun. Bun. What does he say? He says some shit like that.
We gotta get that one dialed up for the game. Look, Isaiah Davis is an NFL running back. I noticed that last year when I saw him. I was like, who the hell is that guy? He's a stud. Gronkowski, I have to get a better look at him, but
he's good.
68%, 69% completion percentage, 28 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Look, I think South Dakota State is about to make their North Dakota State run, and they're just getting ramped up here. So not only will I have them win, I will have them cover against a good Montana. I respect Montana. I think South Dakota State is, they want to catch North Dakota State.
One thing to watch out is Junior Bergen. Have you caught this kid? This kick returner. He's our starting wideout too, but he has killed it in the special teams game against North Dakota State. He had a punt return for a touchdown the game before in the playoffs against Furman. He had a kick return and a punt return for a touchdown. This guy is a difference maker. Junior Bergen. I like this name. For Clifton McDowell to Junior Bergen.
Hey, Montana's been living on the edge. 2 straight overtime wins to get here.
That's what I'm saying. It's magical. It's magical.
That magic runs out in Frisco. They don't mess with magic in Frisco.
There's a story that Penn and Teller got their ass whooped in Frisco, Texas one Friday night.
That's right.
All right. They tried to pull some magic out of the bar. Some guy fucking threw a stein of beer into his face and said, "You get your magic ass out of here."
They all have steins down in Frisco, but no magic.
Magic Johnson tried to go there once too. Don't even make me tell that story.
David Blaine did that little card trick where he threw the thing against the window.
Yeah, Blaine
got his ass kicked.
Out of here. All right, so I think I do think South Dakota State's going to win the game, but it's sprinkle a little bit on the money line just in case. Give me like a 31-27 final. Jackrabbits get it done. But sprinkle a little bit on there. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on the Grizz because I think it's juicy. It's juicy out there.
Ooh.
All right, let's switch over to the FBS here. We're staying in the state of Texas. How does the FCS play at a better venue than the FBS? What the fuck's going on here?
All right.
We're going to NRG, Energy, fucking. We're going to NASA.
This doesn't even have a soul on Sundays, let alone
the worst stadium in the fucking country. This is top 10 worst stadium in the country for a football game.
Yeah.
NRG Stadium. Both teams have won. Well, no. What is it? Washington's won like 21 straight games. Is it right? I think Washington's won 21 or 22 straight games.
Rolling.
They head into Houston, Texas. Now in a dome, who does this benefit more? You think, Patty C?
Obviously Washington.
Yeah, I do too. And that's one thing I want to bring up here is like, what if you had to compare Washington to any other team from an offensive standpoint? Wouldn't it be Ohio State with their receivers?
Not this year. McCord just wasn't.
I'm just saying though that Harrison and all those guys.
Yes, typically. Yeah. Stroud kind of even reminds you of Pennix maybe a little bit. The team that Michigan played last year, at Ohio State, that's a similar that's a good comparison, I think.
Well, because I was thinking that Michigan when they played Ohio State, because Harrison still went off against them, I think this year.
Yeah,
McCord went off. He went off against everybody.
Yeah, but that's my point is that was in Ann Arbor in cold weather.
Sure,
in a dome in a neutral site. I just don't see how Michael Pennix. Like I understand Michigan's got a great pass defense. That was part of my handicap against Alabama, but I also don't think they've faced anybody nearly.
No, like they have not
as good as Michael Pennix.
Right? It's kind of hard to tell. I mean, we just saw it. The best quarterback they've played is Talia Tagovailoa. So
it's not even close to the passing situation they're going to be facing. They haven't seen that all year yet.
And I think Kalen DeBauer also is, and you got to love the fact that Jim Harbaugh started his coaching career in the FCS, Kalen DeBauer in the NAIA, and here they are playing in the national championship.
Also, did Michigan celebrate a bit too much when they beat Alabama? So. It seemed like
I saw Jack Harbaugh there crying, and his mom.
Right.
Going
it seemed
crazy.
Like they won the national championship. I know this is the third year in a row, and they didn't want to lose in the semifinal for the third year in a row. So for them, it was huge to get over that jump. But you know what? Now they got to refocus because they're playing in 6 more days.
And if you ask Noah Beanick, what was the clear glaring weakness all year? He said, they're special teams.
Looked very iffy, obviously.
Here, I'm gonna give you guys a comparison here. This is like Alabama was like the first time you go, you have a special night with a girl you're really excited about, and then boom, 2:00 hits, and you guys are getting down at it, and boom, you're a little, you know, and maybe you bust a little quick, right? You're just not ready for the moment, right? But then
the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
You calm down. You say, we're going at this again, and then you give her what she really wants. Okay, and so that's what Michigan's going to do. They're going to calm down.
I ate everything. I ate the pussy. I ate the butt. I ate every motherfucking thing. Right?
The stage, I don't think is going to be certainly the Rose Bowl. Like you mentioned, the granddaddy of them all, the biggest stage in college football. NRG Stadium, maybe the worst.
Yeah, it's like a step down.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Psychologically, this is a step down. You went from the Rose Bowl. You got Kirk Herbstreit's dog fucking there.
I don't see. Yeah, exactly. I think the problem for Michigan in the Rose Bowl was that it was too climactic of a scene for them, and they made mistakes. I think if they're not overwhelmed with the stage, then they're just going to play superior football because that's what they are. They're the best team in the country.
Are they?
But we'll see. I mean, Washington has proven it time and again.
I mean, last 2 times out, Washington has beat Oregon and Texas. We know Texas is better than Alabama because they proved it on the field in Tuscaloosa. Washington looked better beating a better team than Michigan did beating Bama. I know you can't always just say and therefore Washington's going to win. No, because you know, different styles make fights and there's different matchups here. But I just don't think it's fair to Washington that they're a 4.5 point dog.
Well, if you look at like Washington's schedule since November 4th, like November 4th at USC, home to Utah, at Oregon State in the fucking monsoon, home to Washington State Apple Cup, Oregon, Texas, and now Michigan. They're getting decent opponents every fucking week and winning. Now I know they're all winning by 1-score games, but
right,
it's fascinating to me the gauntlet that they've gone through in the final, 5 games here, 6 games.
The Pac-12 was by far better than the Big Ten this year.
Yeah.
Michigan feasted on a bunch of bad quarterbacks and a shitty out of conference schedule. I just think Washington has proven more at this point, and I think you could argue that they're more complete of a team.
Now they're saying Dylan Johnson's questionable. I don't know if they're just saying that and he's not going to play because he was carted off.
Yeah,
and we know that he actually was not the starter to start the season. So their starting running back to start the season's out for the year. So they're actually out without their top 2 running backs. But this is one thing that I thought they did. See, if you look at the stat sheet from that Texas game, you sit there and you say they were not able to run the ball, right? But I think that's fool's gold here because Kalen DeBauer does all these little wide receiver screens and little things. That is his run game. He does all this crazy shit. So you look and you say, okay, Dylan Johnson only ran for, what was it, like 43 yards or something, right?
I don't think that's fool's gold. I think Texas has had one of the best rush defenses in the nation.
I'm saying DeBauer knew that coming in, and that's why he did all those bubble screens. Like there's so many little things he did. The play action to the tight end. Like they had a bunch of little routes that I consider his version of the run game, which means I don't think he doesn't care about, okay, we only ran for 2.3 yards of rush because he's using the pass game as his run game. I think that's going to be key if Dylan Johnson's out. And obviously Michael Pennix's legs, but
I would agree that some teams you want to see a balanced offense. With Washington, I don't think it's that important because the passing attack is that good and because they can use a lot of short passing to kind of take the place for runs.
Well, let me tell you this. Offensively, I would say Texas, Oregon, and Michigan kind of represent each other a little bit. They're all physical run teams.
Oregon passes a lot.
Oregon does pass a lot. I think that's a little counterfeit, like we said, Michael, or some of those like handoffs that count as a pass that Bo Nix got. But either way, I mean, we saw Oregon has one of the top rushing offenses in the nation. Texas is a strong running game, and the Michigan is too. Now, so I think I think all of those teams will have similar success against Washington offensively. I think maybe I don't even think Michigan's any better than either Oregon or Texas offensively. So I expect Michigan to hang around 30 points on Washington. Now, I think the difference is Texas has the number 116 pass defense. Oregon has the number 54 pass defense. Michigan has the number 2 pass defense. And so that's what makes, of that same style, Texas the number 3 team, Oregon the number 2 team, and Michigan the number 1 team that plays that style of football. So I think Michigan may do a better job defensively. I think you're right, though, Nick. I think 4.5 points is a lot.
Here's my real handicap. Michael Pennix is the best player in college football. You have him making your decisions, you're going to be okay. He's proved it all year. He even proved it last year. I know they didn't win the national championship, but really since they won out, like I said, 22 straight wins. There's no way I'm not taking Washington with the points here, especially in the dome. I think that helps them.
Yeah.
I also think they have the better kicking game. So what's that?
Washington's going to want to be in the 30s. They're going to want to put up around what they did against Texas, put up 37. And I think it's going to come down to that Michigan pass rush. Can they get to Pennix, or will the O-line for Washington step up? Will Pennix, be shifty enough in the pocket to make, a guy miss from time to time? I think that's the key matchup, because I think if Michigan gets off and if they can pressure him like they did Bama, then Washington might not hit 30. But right now, I have to have faith in that offensive line, and I have to have faith in Michael Pennix to do enough offensively to at least cover, if not win outright. So I think the play is you take the points and you also hit the money line.
That's an interesting point with that probably is the matchup of the game. Washington's offensive line against Michigan's defensive front, because Michigan supposedly only blitzed 6 times and they got 5 sacks in that, or however many in that time frame. It looked like they were able to get now Alabama's offensive line probably isn't as good as Washington's.
Not at all. Yeah.
No. So,
but
what was Alabama's stat for sacks? They were like
111th in the nation
in sacks allowed. Yeah. That's unheard of for Alabama.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
If Michigan can get pressure without sending a lot and they can drop a lot of guys in the coverage, then they can neutralize maybe that.
But let's be honest. Before coming into last week, people said Texas had the best defensive line. A lot of people thought, and they didn't get 1 sack. That's why I think it's so important. Michael Pennix, to me, is the reason why I'm riding with him, because he always makes the right decisions. He can extend plays. He can, he's just, and McNamara, let's be honest. I'm not McNamara, McCarthy. He gives you a couple balls that are out there to me. Like
first play of the game. That should have been an interception.
Yeah. I mean, and even with that, there was a couple others that you sit there and say, whew.
That's been a problem for him since his freshman year. Obviously, he would probably improve on it since then. So obviously it was a problem back now. It was probably a problem back then, but he's been doing that for a long time. I don't know if it's the small hands or shoulder strength or what, but that ball flutters on him. He doesn't always throw a tight spiral, and that costs him sometimes on balls going too high.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated by the matchup because they're both kind of opposites of each other. I think this could make for the best national championship we've had since the Georgia Alabama game, right?
Have we heard Patty's pick yet? Are we all taking Washington?
I'm with you guys. I think for kind of exactly the same reason Colby said with Pennix, I think they're a very live dog here. I'm still favoring Michigan to win outright, but I think 4.5 points, like you said, Nick, is just a tad too many. I think it's a lot too many. I think it should be down in 2.5 point range.
And what can neutralize a great pass rush besides your great offensive line? His mobility, man. That's what I'm saying. Like his mobility, it's not like
we saw Milroe do it and keep Alabama alive just on that mobility. Now,
but Milroe can't connect on those passes. Penix's accuracy down the field is fucking incredible.
Yeah,
it's like a dart.
Yeah,
it's just
all angles.
Like it's a lot of fun to watch.
I see the over/under sit at 55.5. What do you guys think about that?
I actually think over.
So what does that mean? You take 5 points away for the spread, and so they're expecting like a 25-30 game. That sounds about right. That's kind of what we've been talking about.
I think it'll be over.
I think slightly over as well.
Give me Washington like 33-31. Washington wins.
Oh, you're calling the upset?
Yeah, I am too. I think Washington's
you're calling the upset.
Right.
Wow.
I don't think it's an upset. I actually think Washington is I think they're just a bad matchup for Michigan.
Yeah.
I think now Michigan, what's the blueprint for Michigan? Just run the ball, control the clock, and force Pennix into a turnover. But I just think they haven't faced anyone like this at the quarterback spot. I also think their wide receiver play and the fact it's in a dome and the fact that they have a better special teams. I think Washington's just in a better spot right now.
Here's what you guys aren't accounting for.
What's that?
The blue blood bias. Okay. Michigan is the blue blood and they're going to get the bullshit calls, and that there will be a bullshit call that helps Michigan win this game. 33-30 Wolverines. Harbaugh rides off into the sunset. He's a Chicago Bear after they lose on
Don't
Sunday.
say that. I want him in college football.
Hey, it's probably going to happen. They're talking about an 8-game suspension maybe by the NCAA
for buying cheeseburgers.
For buying cheeseburgers.
Come on.
You know what got him on this too, right? The place gave him the burgers for free, but he wanted a tip. I don't know if you're familiar with the story.
Yeah, I remember you talking about
they
it.
They put a penny down and then he tipped on the card, and that's how they found out.
No good deed goes unpunished.
No. Final score. You ready for this one? Final score is, let's go 38-35. Washington
smashing the over.
Washington hits a 42-yard game winning field goal. Pennix gets, Michigan's gonna tie it up, kick the ball back to Washington with like a minute left. Pennix gonna get them in the spot to load up for that field goal.
Drive it down.
The other thing you can do also is tease this and take Washington plus 10.5 over 49.5. I like the sound of that.
But you're gonna have to tease it with what else? The Montana.
It's a 2-leg teaser.
Okay.
Here's what's going to happen. Pennix is going to throw an interception. I think Michigan's defensive backfield is going to, if they can generate that pass rush with, without blitzing the heck out of them, eventually they're going to dial something up on the back end and, step in front of a pass. And that'll be the difference.
That could be also, I don't know, because the Rutgers wideout room is a lot different than the Washington.
Either way, I anticipate a pretty damn good game here.
Yeah. I can't wait for this one. Can't wait for both games, really. So let me ask you this: which play do you feel better about? Montana, South Dakota State, or Washington, Michigan? NC Nick.
Washington. This spread should be Michigan by a field goal if they're favored at all.
Yeah, I would. I actually think it should be like. I actually think it should be like Michigan -1.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that, but I feel better about the South Dakota State game just because I think they're a super dominant force right now. They are.
I think I feel better about the Washington game.
Well, yeah.
I feel like Washington the points.
Oh yeah, you just said that, Nick. Yeah. Nick, can you agree? Yeah. I disagree.
All right,
that was the question.
All right. Here, I'll.
The only thing on my mind, Gene, was pussy.
All right, folks. This is the college football show. What else you want to talk about? This is it, right?
Do we have any coaching?
No, we talked about
all that. Talked
about all that.
I think Duke Syracuse is right about halftime, so I need to jump out and catch that.
There you go. Folks, we'll be back with the college basketball experience at the top of the hour, 8:00 Pacific time.
The real Dukes. The real Duke.
How about the JMU
in Harrisonburg,
Dukes?
Virginia?
Nick, your thoughts on JMU undefeated right now?
That's fantastic. I love it.
Have to say, I hate that App State's looking pretty good at basketball. I don't want them to get us both times.
I was just about to say that they play twice coming up. I think. Twice in January, I believe.
I think like the second or third week in January.
I love the fact that those great football games. Now we're going to see it on the hardwoods too, because they're both probably the class of the Sun Belt.
That's right. We do not need that. The shit talk from App State will be unbearable if they can hand us our first loss in both sports.
Before we sign out, I want to shout out to Iowa, Tennessee. I cashed the under on 36.5. It was super sweaty, but I want to shout out to Iowa because look, Brian Ferentz is riding off into the sunset, and I just appreciate what they did as a team. They honored him correctly in the final time he ever was their OC there.
By scoring 0 points.
By throwing for a cool 60 and scoring 0 points.
That's his last 2 games as coordinator.
That's the way you should do it.
Just score 0 every time.
And they did bench Deacon Hill, which pissed me off because
come on.
Clearly he's your future. Don't do that to his confidence. All right.
Do we have any idea who the new OC is going to be?
We don't. We don't. But
Give me Scott Frost. I love that idea.
Yeah, that would be great because then he gets to play. Bring
back the triple option.
Oh yeah, let's go, folks. We are the College Football Experience. Obviously, I'll be back in a couple days with CJ Sullivan previewing the national championships, both of them. And also make sure we'll be back. We're gonna break down. We'll have a reaction show, a pregame show for the national championship and all that good stuff. But after that, we're going to break down schedules for each and every conference. We're going to get into the thick of it. I'm sure more portal news will happen. We got you covered here on the College Football Experience. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. NC Nick is on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at DColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Please, if you can, it's the end of the season. Hop on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. We're not asking for much here. Come on, I see the numbers. We need more of those iTunes reviews. All right,
let's go.
Also, subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/The College Experience. It's the hub for all of our shows: the College Baseball Experience, the College Basketball Experience, the FCS College Football Experience, and obviously this show, the College Football Experience. We might even get some Frozen 4 action on this fucking thing. Let's go, folks. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as well. And until next time, this is the College Football Experience. Happy New Year, and I cannot wait for the national championships. Until next time, you better start thinking about yours. And we out of here. Run and shoot.